at the same time assert yourself.
Okay.
Say, look, I'm here, and this is what I'm doing.
Okay.
Right.
I think
not a good idea.
no, that's fine. And this is a very important concept, right? And this is only for people who want to stick it out in the corporate sector.
Okay.
If you want to go out, if you want to leave all of this and start something on your own, I'm all for that, because I did the same thing.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you want to stick in, and if you want dealing with your competition, believe me, at work you have no friends. That's just like the biggest line. In work, you don't have friends in your peer group. Okay, because there's only one promotion, right? You know, your friend is not going to say, look, but you know, I'm going to decline my promotion, and since you're my best friend, I'm going to give it to you. It's never happened.
That's not going to happen. No.
Right? So it's very important that you once again position yourself with the right people,
Right.
so that they see your talent. Right, and your boss and your immediate superiors actually sponsor you instead of somebody else. Right.
Okay.
And what I always say is, if you know, there's this famous Japanese phrase, you know, measure 1,000 times but cut once. Right, and your work has to be like that. Right, and your work has to be so solid that, you know, your competition doesn't have a chance. It has to be perfect.
Oh, yeah.
And when you have work like that, it's very difficult for competition to really compete with you, because you're cut apart the rest, you're cut above the rest. But here, and I'll tell you some of the things that are happening in Sri Lanka, and one of the biggest problems. I'll give two very good examples. Number one, a lot of top performers bow down to peer pressure. So you got your peer group. You don't want to be a top performer and be highlighted, because your peer group puts pressure on you.
Right.
They say, look, this is the boss's guy, this is the boss's baby.
That's what happens in Sri Lanka.
Don't come and sit with us. Why don't you go to the boss?
And let me tell you another example, and it's a very, very important example. There was a company that I got to know this. The project manager of this company didn't want the employees to talk in English.
Oh, didn't.
Right?
Okay.
And every time someone spoke in English within that team, he was looked down upon.
Even to each other?
Even to each other. Right?
Okay.
And that's kind of the subcultures that are there in organizations.
Wow.
Right? So you can be working for the biggest multinational, but there are some companies who have formed subcultures.
Right.
And those subcultures have certain standards and norms. And when top performers get into that subculture, what happens is they lose what makes them special. Because they can't show it anymore. They can't do it anymore because it's looked down upon.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that's unhealthy.
Definitely.
No matter how competitive you become, being in an environment that environment is unhealthy.
Okay.
So probably the two things that I would talk about competition is make your work solid, and always work for a company that, you know, really champions great behavior, great performance, and you need to compete in that environment. There is no point competing in a company which has a culture which limits your performance behavior.
Okay, I have an interesting question to ask you, but right before that, we have to go for a commercial break. So don't go anywhere. We have more things to talk about with Dhananjay Hettiarachchi.
Welcome back to the show. Now we are in conversation with Dhananjay Hettiarachchi, and he's been giving us a lot of straight talk today, and you know really how it is and the reality of the situation here in the corporate world, and how you can really face the type of adversity and the challenges that you come across in today's corporate world, and really rise above everything to achieve your true potential. But Anu, you had a question that you wanted to ask just before we went for the break.
Yes, so we were talking about having a group, a subculture within a company that actually does not allow you to be the potential great person that you could be. So in that situation, what do you do?
I think there are two options for this, and I think probably the option that I would take is I would look for somewhere else.
Alright.
Because the fundamental principle of human behavior is you're molded by your environment, and if you stay in an environment which is
negative.
Yeah, which is, well, it's not negative, it's a bad negative.
It drains you down?
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, in the famous saying, I don't know whether you watched there was a very famous saying that says, you know, there is good suffering and bad suffering, right? You know, so if it's bad suffering, no matter how much of adversity you face, you're never going to achieve your goals in life. You know, and then there's good suffering, which is a good adversity that really molds you.
The challenges.
The challenges, right? And so if your adversity is, you know, is counterproductive. You know that the suffering and the pain you're going through will never get you anywhere. Then it's time for you to shift your environment to do something better. And the other option is you find a different sponsor, a different department, a different function where you could move to. Because at the end of the day, the amount of energy you spend in that location handling all of these, negative adversity, and if you just move into something which has very productive adversity, you could make gains here as opposed to just, going through the same thing over and over again.
Basically, that's a battle that's not worth fighting.
The key is actually not to sit in one place and accept the situation and just complain about it. Do something about
absolutely. it. Yeah, absolutely. You got to do something. You got to, you got to get up and really, and really face it, and in a really smart way. And I think that really depends on the type of adversity that you're facing, as I just talked to you about a little earlier.
Doesn't that also depend on the type of personality you have? Because sometimes people react to different situations in very different ways.
That's right.
Reactive and proactive.
Right. But the thing is, great people don't react.
Wow. Great people don't react.
That's status update to us.
I know, I was just about to say that.
Great people don't react.
Great people who have that potential don't react.
What do you mean by they don't react? Do they become completely neutral, or do they have a different sort of response?
It's just that, they understand that there is a gap between their emotion and decision. Right?
Wow.
So for example, if I am making you feel uncomfortable, your decision would be to do something about it, right?
Right.
And that something that you do may be not the smartest move that you take, right? So what happens is when you are probably starting out your career, you can't see that there is a gap between your emotion and your action. So soon as you feel it, you do it. And then you regret it.
Yeah.
Right? But when you mature, you realize, okay, I'm feeling this emotion now. I'm going to just count to 10. Alright? And then I'm going to think what I'm going to do next.
Right.
So in many ways, a lot of people who have this ability, who can face adversity, they don't react immediately to their situation. They take a step back, analyze the situation, give themselves a good 2 days, and then make the right decision.
Right.
So sleeping on it can be a good thing.
Sleeping on it is the best thing that you need to do. I know sometimes, for example, when you face adversity, you want to go give that resignation. You wanna write it and give it, but
and then give your 2 cents also added on.
Exactly, right. And then the best thing to do is just sleep on it. Just give yourself 2 days, because a lot of things that happen in those 2 days, right? And then you go back and really take your decision. But do take a decision. But don't make it immediately.
Because what I've noticed is most of the situations that people tend to react are actually a lot of misunderstandings. There's a lot of misinterpretation, miscommunication going on.
And I think we act a lot on emotions.
Very true.
So facing adversity is very important in the workplace. Your decisions need to be really smart. Don't react, take time, calculate your decision, and make the right decision. Ensure that if you are going through adversity, it's the right type of adversity and not the wrong type of adversity. The wrong type of adversity would be something that takes away what you have, that takes away your magic, that drains you. The right type of adversity is what challenges you to become a better person. If you can make that differentiation, it becomes much easier for you to make your actions.
My next question was, how do you make that differentiation? How do you know which battles we should fight, which battles we should not, are not worth it?
Okay. I think I have, once again, I'll probably talk about 3 ways you can separate, good adversity from bad adversity. I have this acid test, right? Acid test is, when I wake up in the morning, do I feel motivated to go to work? Right? Do I feel motivated to go to work?
Okay.
That's my first thing.
All right.
So if I don't feel motivated, right, then that's really the bad adversity.
Okay.
Because good adversity, you can have good adversity but still be motivated to go to work to face that adversity.
Right.
And that's good adversity.
Okay.
The second adversity is this: when I come back home, right, am I drained out? That's the second. Because work should not drain you out. Ideally, work should energize you. right? And you should be involved in work that, if you come home, you're dead tired, you don't have time to spend with your kids, your family, you just fall on the bed and go to sleep.
Wow, I wish I knew this 2 years ago.
That's bad adversity.
Yeah.
Good adversity always encourages you, energizes you. When you go home, you're like pumped, you go to the gym, you work out, and you're like ready to face the next day.
Come on, like, hi kids, I want to do something.
Exactly, right?
Wow.
And probably the third sign, I would probably think that this is bad adversity, is probably the most important out of these three, the 2-3 things I'm going to tell you. So the third thing that you're involved in bad adversity is that it gets you to do things, gets you to develop bad habits. All right.
Okay.
So for example, you're so stressed out, you overdo on the drinking. You're so stressed out, you overdo on the smoking. You're so stressed out, you start becoming rude. You're so stressed out, you start becoming antisocial. Right, and it's slowly getting you to do things that you never thought you would do in life, and you don't realize it, but every day you're becoming a worse person, right? And that's very important. So if it's making you a bad person overall, then that's bad adversity. Good adversity makes you a better person. So instead of going and boozing your stress away on Friday, you're focusing on making your mind sharper. You're focusing on making your making your body thinner, leaner, so you can face that adversity. But if it's the opposite, then that's bad. So if these 3 things are happening to you, that adversity is not taking you anywhere right now.
So that's the acid test.
Yes, that's it. Test.
All right.
Nice.
So wise words from Dhananjay Hettiarachchi. Now this is why I love waking up in the morning and coming for this show, because I get to meet people like you, Dhananjay, who really keep me motivated and learn so many things. So that means I love my job. I hope my bosses are listening as well right now. But we have to go for a very short commercial break, and we'll be right back on Good Morning Sri Lanka.